Hey everybody, it's me, Peter, and today we are talking about Hidden Figures.
Three Negro women are chasing a white police officer down the highway in 1961. That is a God-ordained miracle.
I loved Octavia Spencer in this movie. I loved her character, I loved her performance, I thought she was just fantastic. But I actually want to talk about Jim Parsons' performance. Jim Parsons has what I'm going to call Don Adams disease. Don Adams played the original Maxwell Smart in the Get Smart television show. And I'm not sure exactly what film it was, but Don Adams reportedly tried out for a drama. Every time he tried to read one of his lines, somebody in the crew would start laughing because they were thinking of something funny that he did on Get Smart.
What are you doing?
I'm singing. Why didn't you lower the lights?
Why, do you sound better in the dark?
Jim Parsons' performance, I think, was just a hair short of being any different from Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. Every time he said something scientific, I would think of Sheldon saying it. Every time he walked up to Katherine Hochul, I was expecting him to tell her that she was in his spot. I just feel like whenever I see him in a movie, he's just a little bit too much like Sheldon, and I can't get that image out of my head. I think that if he's going to give a performance that is going to be taken seriously, he needs to be in a biographical pick. Unfortunately, the only two people I can think of him actually playing is Don Knotts and Paul Reubens. Maybe there are a couple of people that I'm forgetting about, but I feel like if he were in a biographical pick, then that would give him an opportunity to play a character different enough that he isn't coming off like another version of Sheldon Cooper. Now, this film, Hidden Figures, is very well constructed, very well put together. There is nothing that you are looking at or listening to that isn't there for a reason. They're probably going to come back to it at some point later in the film. And it's not overdone either. There's no unnecessary repetition in the movie. It's just that whatever's in there is there for a reason. There's a lot of growth from these characters, a lot of growth from the side characters. One movie that I think would be a good idea to watch in tandem with Hidden Figures is The Right Stuff. The Right Stuff is also a historical picture, and it follows a lot of the events that Hidden Figures follows. But it's from a different perspective. It's from the perspective of the astronauts. So a lot of the informational gaps in one movie are filled by the other movie. For instance, I always knew that John Glenn was scheduled for 7 orbits around the Earth, but he had to come in early after only 3 orbits around the Earth. And also, you see Alan Shepard go up into space, he breaks atmosphere and then comes back down. Gus Grissom goes up into space and comes back down. And then John Glenn goes around the Earth. And they don't really make a big deal out of it. They just act like they're climbing a ladder and orbiting the Earth is the next rung. Hidden Figures, I think, did a better job of explaining how big of a leap, how big of a jump it was from breaking atmosphere to re-entering atmosphere after an orbit. And also, I think that they did a better job of showing how much danger John Glenn was actually in, especially when he had to re-enter the atmosphere early. So there's a lot of interesting information in both movies that I feel like work in tandem. But back to Hidden Figures, it's a fantastic movie. I think that if you haven't watched it, you definitely should. And while we're talking about it, if you haven't seen The Right Stuff, go check that movie out too. That movie's really good too. Now I'd like to get into the spoiler review for Hidden Figures. And I said that this movie does a very good job of presenting something and then coming back to it later. These 3 women go above and beyond in order to earn respect from their colleagues. And they don't have these big, grandiose, oh captain, my captain moments for that moment where they've finally earned the respect of their colleagues. I think it would have been a little bit tedious if they had done that 3 times in a row. What they do is a little bit more subtle. And it works great, and it's beautiful. The character is calling Octavia Spencer Dorothy for the majority of the film, and then when she hands her the papers that have her transfer orders and her promotion, she calls her Mrs. Vaughn. And when Katherine Hochul is first transferred, she goes to grab herself a cup of coffee, and everybody is shooting her daggers because they can't believe that she would drink from their coffee pot. And they even get her a separate, crappier coffee pot specifically for her. By the end of the film, Jim Parsons grabs her a cup of coffee and puts it down on her desk for her. She's not only received the respect of being a colleague, but she's being served coffee by a white man. They don't make a big deal out of the coffee. There's no insert shots of the coffee landing on the desk. The music doesn't rise when he comes into frame with the coffee. It happens. It's right there in front of you. It's subtle, and it's beautiful. I actually started to well up a little bit when it happened. Sheldon Cooper, you big softy. I should also mention I really liked Kevin Costner's character. He treats everybody the same, so much so to the degree that he doesn't even realize he's completely oblivious to the fact that there is a racism problem right under his nose. It comes as a complete surprise to him. And looking back on the film, this is NASA. It's filled with some of the most intelligent and educated people in the country. You would assume that they'd be a little bit more open-minded. Octavia Spencer's character figuring out the IBM computers, I thought was hilarious, and it was just awesome. She really fights, not just to make sure she has job security, but to make sure that every black woman working there has job security. She's a real supervisor. It's a supervisor's job, it's a manager's job to make sure that her employees are being taken care of. So I did like that they made that kind of a character trait for her. Like she wasn't going anywhere unless she could take all of her employees with her. She's looking out for all of her girls, which is just awesome. It was a very uplifting movie, a very feel-good movie. Probably the most feel-good movie out of everything I've reviewed so far. So yeah, that's all I have to say about Hidden Figures. What did you think of Hidden Figures? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed my review, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.